All right, so I'm going to just soften up the ends of these frets a little bit on this player Telecaster. I did an unboxing video on this, and I mentioned in the unboxing video that the frets were okay, and they're fine. I really don't think a lot of people would notice this, but they're not as good as they could be, and I'm just going to clean them up a little bit. Now, just a couple of things. So the bevel I think is okay on these, so I'm not really trying to re-bevel not trying to re-angle or re-bevel the fret this way. I just want to knock the edges of these down a little bit because I can feel them. And just smooth this out so when you run your hand across the neck like this, you don't feel any of these fret bumps. So what I'm going to use for this, I've got some low-tack masking tape. I've got some different grades of sandpaper that from about 400 to about 1200 grit sandpaper. Actually, a little bit more than that. I think I've got 2000 grit here too. And a couple of specialty files. These are both available from StewMac. One is it's a flat file with a sort of a rounded edge all the way around. You can use this for fret leveling, and it's good for doing the tops of frets. It gives you a nice handle to work with. I use this for a lot of different things. The other is a special file that StewMac has available for doing fret, for doing the insides of the fret here, the shoulder of the fret that can be a little bit sharp. This fret file lets you get in here and just soften those edges up a little bit. This may not show up on the camera, I don't know, but it's got a cutting edge on both sides this way. And then one side of this is sort of sharp. The other side has been rounded off though, so you can actually work on against a finished fretboard like this with the soft edge and not damage the finish if you're careful. So here's what I've done this different ways. What I'm going to do is use a couple of strips of masking tape that are about the length of the fretboard. I'm going to tape this off first. I want to get this just, I'll show you in a second, but just underneath the tang of the frets here. I'm going to press it down with my thumb to make sure the tape's nice and flat. All right, so when you're done, it should look something like that. Okay, let's do the other side. Okay, now I've got it taped off. So what I can do is just take this file and I'm just going to run it down. I'm going to try to stay flush and parallel even against the side of the neck here. In other words, I don't want to be going out with too much of an angle. I'm trying to go at it straight like this, right, or flat. And you can actually hear it grinding against the fret. This is a nice long file, so it'll ride against a bunch of frets at the same time. And you can hear it cutting into the fret material, and you can hear when it sort of stops cutting into the fret material, and that's when you want to kind of back off. Now, you know, there's a little bit of finish that's over the ends of some of these frets, so that's going to get knocked off. So, but you can hear it. Maybe it'll show up on the camera, but let's see what this sounds like. It'll sort of start cutting through this tape a little bit too. And I'm just going to work back and forth like this. And we could feel them. And I can already feel they're a lot better. Flip back over and do this other side. kind of take this file now for doing these fret ends, and I'm going to use the rounded side, the softer side, so then I'm not going to scratch the fretboard. I'm not going to tape this off. It's really not necessary. But I'm just going to work these fret ends just a little bit, just to make sure they're nice and soft on the edges. You want to kind of work down and round over, kind of like that. I can hear it grinding. They feel pretty good. So what I'm going to do is just sand this a little bit. I'm going to start with a 400 grit. I still got the tape on top of the frets here, so I'm just going to hit the tops of the frets. I'm not going to get down into the fretboard, into the neck. One of the other things I'm going to do too is tape this nut off. So I want to hit the edges of that just a little bit. These nuts are kind of sharp compared to the American instrument. Just a little thing that I think makes it a little bit nicer to play. Just tape that really good so that we don't get into the finish. There, some pretty good protection there. So, all right, so I'm going to take the 400 grit here. I'm going to start with that, and I'm just going to kind of roll it around my fingers and just lightly go over the tops of the frets here that I just did. This is not, we're going to polish this when we're done with some compound just by hand. So we'll bring back any luster we may be taking off the fretboard. Just like that. Go ahead and hit the edge of this nut just a little bit, just the corners. Just want to soften those a little bit. That's better. Yeah, a lot better. Okay, I'm going to do the back side of the fretboard here now, the back side of the fret. And then just kissing the tops of the frets. Not really getting into the finish. Okay, I got some worn in 600 grit here. I'm just going to use a little bit of that, and then we'll go up to some 800, and then I think I've got a 1200 over there at 2000. So we'll just see how this goes, and then I'm going to polish it. Yeah, it's feeling good. the fret file that I just used, the larger file, you can do that without using the tape, and I'll do that. And it's probably, will cut a little closer and give you a little nicer result. But if you haven't done it before, that's not a bad way to do it, and you can get good results with it. All right, back together, ready for strings.